I mean, mentally, I was filled with self-doubt. I mean, I was 95% convinced this wasn't going to work. I think the hardest part about starting something is actually, ripping off the Band-Aid and honestly quitting your job. And it's like, what's the point of life, really, if we're going to work so hard to retirement to not enjoy something? That honestly gave me the tipping off point. I mean, I probably quit my job a little too early.
Hey, thanks everyone for stopping by. I'm here with Jared Doerfler with my favorite golf company in the world now. I have two Hanna putters. I don't know, I have this one still in my office because I haven't got to play any golf with it. But excited to talk about Jared started this business out of his home and just said, I'm going to start a putter company. And that's a cool story, and I wanted to talk about that story. So Jared, thanks for stopping by and excited to chat today.
What's up, Curtis? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of start. Like, I know you played golf, have a golf background. Where did the first inkling come for you that you wanted to start a golf related business?
Probably 4 or 5 years ago. I was in an MBA program and I had an elective to burn, so I took innovation and entrepreneurship. And the instructor was awesome, but he really encouraged us to write online. And so I'm like, all right, I'll write about the business side of golf. And so, I fired up an old Twitter account that had no followers and created a Substack. And, I don't know, a year or so into that, I was like, I would love to get in the actual, rather than write about the business of golf, I'd rather, be in the business of golf. And so ideas started percolating.
Walk me through when you started thinking, okay, I want to do something physical. What was your thought process there? What things rattled through your head before you finally settled on putters?
It was like a cold January night, I don't know, 2022 or 3 or something like that. And I had been trying to find this putter I used in college for it was basically a decade at that point. And it was a prototype. Coach Bermel got that off a tour truck at a PGA Championship, actually, in Tulsa at Southern Hills. And so, there wasn't any out there. And so I'm like, all right, maybe I'll just try to make it. Like, I'm a tinkerer. Sometimes it's negative that I tinker, but I'm a tinkerer. So I had my brother-in-law draw it in CAD for me. I had sketched it out. And then I had a friend in Texas that has a machine shop. He milled it for me. And that was kind of the start of it, if you will. It turned out terrible. The putter was awful. I mean, I'd have to pay somebody to use that. But I loved that project. And so that's when the idea, I think, really kind of hit home for me that maybe this was a possibility. That was probably about a year and a half before I actually quit my job. We circled back to that project for various reasons. As you mentioned, I wanted to create a physical product that, we want to get on that earlier of why that's important to me. More than happy to chat about that.
Yeah, let's go down that road. What kind of made that so impactful for you?
So for me, it's like my granddad was in manufacturing. My dad was in manufacturing. It's the only thing that I've really ever known to a core from a business side. I grew up in at my dad's office, running around the plant, trying not to cut off any fingers. And so I love making stuff. I love the idea of making stuff. I've never really been a great maker of things, if you will, until I started this thing. So, yeah, I mean, it was just important to me to make a physical product in the United States. And, we could have taken a different route that would have maybe lessen the friction, if you will. But I mean, look, I have a huge passion for making stuff. It's kind of in my blood.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, I think that explains, for a lot of people, the idea of manufacturing anything would have been a completely foreign concept, right? Of you wouldn't even have known where to start. But because you had that exposure, I would guess that's probably a little bit less intimidating than, maybe some other people. But I'm sure you still had some reservations there. So when you started that research process of I could do putters, what iterations did you go through of what were the paths that you had in front of you?
Well, I mean, if we take it a step back further, like that newsletter was kind of like the jump start of it all. And then I've had the itch to do something for a long time. And so, I had the newsletter. So I was like, okay, I have two requirements if I want to start something. I have to be able to make it, and it has to be in the golf space. And so, that's like the Venn diagram of what I'm trying to do. And, there's not a lot of things that you can really make in the golf space. I mean, you can make leather goods, head covers. You can even make some cool bags, some other cool accessories, if you will. But one thing that you can make is putters. And so I started researching that to see if that was like a viable option and how challenging it may be. And then ended up on YouTube and Instagram. There's a lot of people making putters in their garage. And so I thought to myself, if they can do it, maybe they have quite a bit more skills, coming into it than I did. I'd never seen a SEMA before I bought one. And so, I thought I could teach myself that. And so when I got into it, there's two designs that I wanted to try to recreate or create, I should say, right away. Is I wanted to kind of model that one design that I had in college a little bit with our own flair. And then my father-in-law was banging on me about a double wide blade for a long time. And the double wide blades generally are going to be as long as a blade putter. Now that's actually changed in the last year. But we made ours more compact, if you will, for a variety of reasons. The MOI actually has increased because of that. I don't want to get too technical, but so that's what we were trying to accomplish when I first started this journey a little over 2 years ago.
So the original one you created, is it the El Reno that's the closest to that, or is it? Yeah, okay, that makes that. So the El Reno is the closest to that, and then the double wide blade were the first two putters that you did, correct?
Yep. And then we came out with a unique, I guess, mallet design. It's more of a triangle look with sight lines on there. And then our fourth putter we came out with is a Fang model, if you will. Our take on a Fang style, which has been super popular and successful for us. It's our best seller since we launched it in April. So I mean, it's been a lot of fun.
That's cool. That's interesting that the Fang is your bestseller. Did you expect that when you launched it?
It's so hard to tell. We had a lot of requests for it, and so the people were like, "Will you please make a Fang style? Will you please make a Fang style?" And so, we did, and it did well. Now, it has done well. Now, we hear a lot from lefties like, "Hey, can you make this in lefty, or can you do this in lefty?" And all of our putters come in lefty. And, not a lot of our sales, though, are lefty. But we hear a lot from lefties. And so, which makes sense, about 7% should be lefties when it all comes down to it. And that's probably about where we fall. But I feel like we hear from them more. So it was hard to kind of tell, how popular that Fang model would be, which is called our Salt Lake.
That's cool. Yeah. I apologize for getting off track because I'm a golfer too, so I love hearing about that side of it. So I'll try and stick to the business, but just know if you're listening to this, watching this, that I'll probably sneak in some golf stuff in here. Let's go back to kind of this, the path that you're starting on. So you knew obviously you could buy your own machines. What other options were there for you? Like, did you look and say, are there places that we can partner with to manufacture? Like, take me through that thought process of, you've made the decision you're going to buy your own machines.
Yeah, I mean, there was really no other decision. That was going to be it, whether it was good or bad. There are certainly other things you can do. You can have somebody else. There's plenty of machine shops in this country that do a great job to have great equipment. And you certainly could have utilized a machine shop somewhere in the States, somewhere in Iowa, or you can go over to Asia. So those are your kind of two options, and then the level of work that some of those can do. The machine shops here in the States they're probably not going to bead blast anything. They're not going to paint anything. They're definitely not going to shaft and cut and grip anything. In Asia, they'll assemble the whole club for you. And so, those are certainly your options. But there was no other option for me. I was going to make this for better or for worse.
I love that. And honestly, that's like, it is what it is when you're like, this is what I want to physically make the thing. Like, there is no other choice, right? And then you made the decision then that you're going to quit your job and make this transition. What was the reason behind we're quitting the job and we're going 100 bore at this versus, I just want to buy a machine over here on the side and just kind of figure this out?
It's a great question, and I will say this is that my experience is not going to be everyone else's experience, and this is what worked for me. And I think a lot of people have ideas. I think the hardest part about starting something is actually ripping off the Band-Aid and honestly quitting your job. And so, my dad was diagnosed with MS in 2012, and he came and told me he was going to retire, and I was thinking to myself, holy buckets, like life went by pretty quick. He'd still be working today if he could, but physically he can't. And so, in retirement now for him, he can't do the things that he would like to do anymore. I mean, he's in a wheelchair most of the day. Can't ski, can't bike, can't golf. It's a bummer. Has a pretty good attitude about it, and still has his his faculties, if you will, about him. Still has a sense of humor, so that's all good. It could be certainly worse, but that hit me because I'm like, what's the point of life really if we're gonna work so hard to retirement to not enjoy something? Is there something we can do along the way, career wise or professionally wise that can kind of fulfill that itch? And so that honestly gave me the tipping off point. I mean, I probably quit my job a little too early. But the reason why I quit versus just buying a mill and putting it in my garage is, for me, like I said earlier, I'm a tinkerer. I'm a habitual tinkerer, and it's not great sometimes. And I would have bought a mill, it would have sat in my garage, and I would have had fun with it for a month or two, and I would have just sold it then about 6 months later. For me to totally commit, I had to burn the bridge. And by the way, it was really, really hard to do, to teach myself how to make putters on CNC mills. And so it was the right thing to do. It was the harder thing to do. Some people, if you can, hold down a side hustle, great. For me, it was not going to work that way, and I'm glad I did it the way I did, because I think it would have never happened. This thing would have never started, never got off the ground if I didn't quit my job.
Yeah, that's great. And I understanding and seeing that why, part of that why behind there is also that explains a lot too, right? Because when you have that attitude of, man, we have so much time here that we can do this stuff, and I want to enjoy this, and you bring that family element into it, it makes so much sense, because there's always, like, I think before you get in entrepreneurship, you get this idea that, like, if I quit my job, I'm done, right? But then you realize that there's always something else, right? If you go and fail at this thing, there's always another opportunity. And I think it took me, I actually look back, I didn't realize it at the time, but it took me 7 years from this idea of I wanted to be entrepreneurship to finally quitting my job and doing that full time, right? And that's a lifetime. And if I look back, that's the one regret I have, is that I didn't take that leap sooner. Now, there's a lot of reasons for me not taking it sooner, because part of it, I didn't realize what I was going through. But in hindsight, it's easy to see that. But I think that's powerful. So you had the idea. How long between this was the idea to you buying that CNC router?
It was probably 4 to 6 months. I kind of gave my notice in June and then left in August. Yeah, I mean, it was relatively quick, because I was done with my job in August of 23, and that same week, my CNC mill showed up in my garage in my house.
Okay.
And so I was planning on launching Hanna Golf in February of 2024, and I thought it was going to take me about 6 months, and I was way off. It took me a full year to teach myself everything to launch. So we launched officially in July of 2024.
Okay. So acquired equipment August, then into July. So as far as what you had to buy, that CNC router, what other things did you have to do to get prepped and ready to go?
So, I mean, your CNC mill and all the equipment that comes with it, whether that's end mills, tool holders, calipers, micrometers, and then all the club assembly stuff. So your basic stuff, a saw, a grip station, a shaft station. We got a lie loft gauge, 2 of them now, but tables, some tool chests, some fun stuff like that.
But all those things, like, so your main expense is the CNC mill, right? Then
Yeah.
and everything else is kind of, obviously it still adds up to a lot. But what would you say your initial investment was to kind of get up and running?
So I've got about $100,000 of this, my own money into it, and then a little bit of debt on top of that to start, which has been
Okay.
wiped out now. But about 30,000 of debt I took, essentially on a personal loan,
Yeah.
to start. So yeah, I mean, it's my wife and I in our 20s worked really hard, and we didn't have kids until we were in our 30s. And
Yeah.
so we worked hard. We were fortunate. We lived, I think, below our means, and we had some money saved up. And I wish I had double the amount to start, to be honest with you, because I started with a very
Right.
entry level mill. But that mill is now done and gone and out of our shop, and we have two other high quality Haas mills. They're 3-axis mills. If anyone watches F1, Haas sponsors a team. They're out of California. They do a great job. Their mills are relatively affordable, and they're assembled in America, which I appreciate. I mean, you can spend between, if you're going to get a Haas mill, you're going to spend between, I mean, the range varies, but for our size, 60 and 130. And then it's funny how this thing works out. I get some CNC mill reps that stop by my shop now, and they try to sell me a new mill. And there's a company out there called DMG Mori, which they're very good. They're also about $250,000 for kind of what we need. And every time the rep stops by, I say, look, your mill's twice as what my first year revenue was. Like, I can't do it yet. The next iteration for us would honestly be able to go to a 4-axis mill. And so, 4-axis, that means the part can turn, or you have 4 ways to get at the part pretty much. And so, I mean, it's also quite a bit more expensive. So, I mean, just to add a fourth, you're looking at probably between 30 and 50 grand onto a normal mill.
Interesting. So quite a bit as far as an investment goes. Was that investment, say that 130, was that what you expected it was going to be, or did it end up being more than you'd originally thought?
No, I think we were, I was under budget to start. And then about 6 months in, I was like, there's no way this thing's ever going to work with this mill that I have in my garage. And I need another mill. And that was the first, moment where I was like, I hadn't sold anything. So I went to the bank and asked for a loan on a $70,000 mill. And then I went and found a shop. And, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. Like, I'm in kind of la-la land right now. It's either I just kind of go find a job, or I double down and get another mill. So that was the second mill we got, which is, still in our shop today, which is a great mill for us.
So did you get that second mill before you officially launched, or was that
Oh,
around
yeah.
that time? Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, we got that, and that got delivered in February of 24,
Okay.
which was,
All right.
it's an awesome mill. It was such an upgrade to where I was at, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, having dreams about this thing every night. I was in love.
That's funny. That's funny. So you end up 2 mills before you start. Now you're officially launching. Did you have any sense of what that was going to look like with a launch? I mean, you probably threw some numbers at something to say, okay, where do I have to get to? But to walk me through your thought process of like what you're thinking of, like, where does this make sense for me? What can I realistically look at? Like, it's such a crapshoot, but I'm just curious your thought process of like where you were mentally thinking at that point.
I mean, mentally, I was filled with self-doubt. I mean, there was,
Right, right.
in April and May of 24, before this thing got off the ground, I mean, I was 95% convinced this wasn't going to work. I had no idea. My goal was to sell 300 putters the first 12 months, and
Okay.
I don't know what we did the first 12 months, 500 maybe. I'm a sales guy by heart, and so my theory is if I can sell 5 of something, I can sell 50. If I can sell 50 of something, I can sell 500. So my whole thought was, obviously we're going to launch on the internet and it'd be direct to consumer business and kind of leverage some of the audience that I had built online from my newsletter days. And I mean, the first week, it far exceeded my expectations. We sold 50 the first week, and mostly everyone is a stranger. 45 of those people, call it, or never met me in my life before, and they're spending their hard-earned money on my putters, and it was a very humbling and cool experience.
Yeah, I hadn't bought a putter in 10 years, and you forced me to buy two now. Unfortunate situation,
Yeah.
but I love it, and I think that's where that 50 comes from, right? Is people are excited to participate in what they see you doing, and I think you having that newsletter plus the related social media stuff with it, you've really been able to bring people along that journey, and I think that that's powerful, and I think that's the grassroots, that's the grassroots approach. So personally, it's been cool to see, because it's like you kind of live vicariously through getting to see this experience that you're getting to have. What so 300 putters is where you're thinking, and you're ultimately, obviously, you want to grow, and you want to do this. And I know that you brought on Tyler. You've talked about Tyler, your shop hand there. That's a beast. Did you originally plan, I'm just going to do this all on my own? Where did Tyler come into that picture?
Yes, I thought, in my model, my dad's a retired CEO, and he is way too analytical. So he made me put together a few things. Made is, I guess, not actually true, but he strongly encouraged me.
Yeah.
And so, I was just myself the first year, and that first week that we launched, when we sold 50, I thought to myself, like, there's just no way I'm gonna be able to do this. And so a week later, I had the local community college help me out and find an intern at the tool and die program. And so they posted on Facebook, and I don't have Facebook. We should probably get that. It'd be good for the company, I think. But my mom then reposted it, and whatever. Long story short, my mom taught for 30 years, and so she actually taught Tyler in third grade. So his mom
That's cool.
saw it, and then he reached out, and so he came in as an intern in August of 24. He helped out for about 10 to 15 hours a week, which was great. He was pretty green from the machining standpoint, but yet, was going to school at the same time to learn. And, he's learned so much, and, now his main responsibility is running those mills every day, and with some other club building stuff that he does. And so he came on full time in May of 25. And, that was a huge moment for us in a lot of different ways. Negative and positive. So, that's cash, right? And so,
Yep.
And not only that, is to sell as many putters as we needed to sell to support his wage, we couldn't do with our setup. So I had to buy another mill. I'd replace the first mill we had to increase our capacity. And so now I'm investing. Now this mill was $70,000. We don't really have the demand for it per se, but I need to have demand to pay for him. And so that March, April, May period for me personally was really challenging. I mean, it was a great eye opener and a great thing to go through. I think I'd worked about 90 straight days. We launched a new putter. We did a collab with Bridgestone during Masters Week, which was awesome. We did our first limited release, and we bought a mill and brought that in the shop. And I'm doing that basically all by myself, with Tyler working about 10 hours a week. And I got shingles. And I went to the doctor, and I said, I think I got something going on my face. And she goes, you got shingles. And I said, that can't be possible. I'm 36. I just assumed that it was only for older folks. And so she goes, no, it's caused from chronic stress with younger folks. And yeah, I got shingles. And so the funny thing is if I look back, I've worn a Whoop for the last 2.5 years. And, if anyone wears a Whoop, you know something about, you get a 5 o'clock alert that tells you how much stress you were in during the day, or daily stress. And, up to that point, I was around like 2 to 3 hours a day in daily stress. I was getting about 15 to 18,000 steps in a day. My shop's 900 square feet. So that's a lot of moving around.
Wow. Yeah.
The day that Tyler started, from then on, my daily stress has gone below 30 minutes, and my steps have been about 6,000 to 8,000 in the shop. So, super positive in many different ways. Like I don't think I would have survived if I didn't hire him, although it was the hardest thing I've had to do. And from a cash standpoint, extremely nerve wracking. Looking at the bank account, probably too much every day, and just to see, you know, where are we at from a cash standpoint. Now it's worked out so far, and, you know, it's always easy to look back, but, you know, cash is king, and it was a huge challenge for us to bring that mill in and then have somebody start full time. And quite frankly, at that time, we really couldn't afford it. But I figured that, you know, we're going to find a way to make this work, and we have.
Dude, people relate to that so much because it's like to do anything good in business, you're going to have to take those risks and take those steps. Thankfully, you had someone in Tyler that you had already been working with, so it was a little bit less of it, but that doesn't reduce that cash, you know, stress that you have there. And then I didn't know that, but to take on additional debt on top of that is absolutely just, it's a compounding effect. I wanted that leads perfectly because I did want to get into, because part of mentioning Tyler is if that wasn't the plan initially, that potentially changes your whole model as far as what is affordable, you know, what your cost of goods for each particular unit is, and what's your actual profit on that. So I'm curious to talk through, how many do you think, you know, how many did you plan on a per mill basis? What is your cost and what's your expense going into that? How did that additional labor need coming in, how did that potentially change that?
A lot to try to unpack there from my brain.
Right.
Financials are not my strong suit, admittedly. I mean, I guess starting at this is that Tyler was a generational talent. He wanted to work there. He kept bugging me about working here full time, and I could never really give him a hard, firm answer. And finally, in February, I was like, all right, we're going all in, because he needed an answer. And by the way, Tyler took a hometown discount. I mean, as a tool and die kid coming out of school, you're going to make, I don't know, with overtime and everything else, between 60 and 80 grand. And if you work at John Deere, which we have a lot of John Deere facilities around Iowa, you can hit the top end of that pretty quickly. Now you're pushing a green button every single day. And he's got all the latitude and autonomy here in the world, but he wanted to work here. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, this guy's not coming around again. He's just not, and I have to train somebody else. He's a great culture fit. I can call him at Saturday at midnight. He'll answer. I don't try to do that, but he's just Team Hanna Golf. So, you know, looking at kind of where we're at, I guess I'll try to answer your question from like a break-even standpoint. So, you know, when Tyler started in August of 24, like a break-even for us was like 40 putters a month, 35 to 40 a month shipping.
Yeah.
Our break-even now is 65. And so we have to ship 65 putters a month to break even. And that covers our debt service, that covers our labor, you know, that covers all of our other costs that go into, you know, running a business. And, you know, I don't pay myself a whole lot of money. I pay myself $1,000 a month. And so, you know, I didn't pay myself since I quit my job, I went up without a paycheck for 18 months, and I started paying myself $500 a month for 6 months. Then I went to 1,000. Then the next thing will be 1,500. But I'd rather have this cash, you know, go into the business, going to support Tyler, going to support growth initiatives. And so that's kind of where we're at now from, you know, just the risk and the debt service and the labor.
780 putters annually is what that 65 a month is. That first year you did 300, or I guess, was that first 12 months, or was that because you launched in July? So July, yeah.
Year
So
zero,
is that
from year zero, all of 2024, we shipped 318.
Okay.
And 25, I think we're going to ship around 700.
Okay. So that 318 was July to December, with the launch obviously lifting that up. So
Right.
when you hired him, that really speaks to that leap of faith that was, again, the new machine plus the hiring of him, of you're still having to get that volume to ramp to get to that break even point. And I mean, I think you guys have had really good momentum. And sounds like you've gotten in some shops, you've gotten in some other things as well. I'm curious on the sales side, like what has been your approach and strategy there?
So we're utilizing that direct to consumer, which, you know, if you look at top of funnel, we just started spending money on Instagram last month from an ad standpoint. So we have not spent money on ads. So it really comes from social, from our funnel standpoint, and whether that's Twitter, whether that's Instagram, or LinkedIn, those are kind of our three main things. And Twitter's been, if I had to throw a number at it, I bet Twitter's been responsible for 60% of our sales. LinkedIn 30%, and then the remaining 10 is Instagram. And then I guess if you look at it from a social media bucket, that's probably the breakdown. And then there's some word of mouth. And then another channel that I didn't anticipate opened up was like a B2B channel. And so whether that's, you know, a private equity group out of Texas, you know, bought 35 putters for their investors this year.
That's cool.
Or we'll have, you know, a business owner that wants to buy 5 for his sales reps. And so when they want their logo on and all this stuff. And so, you know, we've done, I don't know, a couple dozen of those B2B orders, which have been really cool for us to do. And, you know, the thing about us is our MOQ is 1. So price is going to be a little bit higher, but you're not going to be able to go to another putter maker and say, you know, I want my logo on this putter and I want it, you know, painted with this color scheme for five of my sales reps. And so we're able to do that. And, you know, we charge, you know, generally depending on the work, you know, for that is $360. And so it's not, you know, it's not a lot of money if you take a step back and look at it from getting you know, a personalized logoed putter on it.
Dang, you're gonna have to make me buy another putter here. Have to buy them for our people, right? That's cool. That's very cool. So B2B, and then I've seen you've mentioned a few times you guys are in some shops as well. So is that something you're actively seeking out to get in golf shops, or what's that look like?
Not if somebody comes to me, and they want to stock their putters in their shop, you know, I'm definitely open to it and we'll have the conversation. Last fall I tried to get some shops in and we did. Here's where I fall on that. And this is just, you know, straight from, you know, like a finance standpoint, is like, we don't necessarily have to do that right now. And, you know, our capacity is filled with other avenues that are more profitable for us.
Yeah.
And so we start going through that channel. You know, we're selling at wholesale price and our margins, you know, greatly reduced. And so we're not set up right now to kind of get there. We've got to make some more operational efficiencies to really do that. And we have to be able to increase our capacity. So,
That makes sense.
Like I've become friends with a few people on social media that, you know, one guy's in Alaska and has a golf course and he bought 8 putters and he knows the story and he's able to sell those putters because he knows the story, and, you know, happy to do things like that, but not necessarily actively going out and trying to get in shops. It will be, I think, a good part of our strategy in like 2-3 years from now to get into golf shops. That's really kind of where we want to play, but we need more capacity and we need more efficiency first for it to make sense.
That makes complete sense, because I mean, from what it sounds like, your mills are cooking pretty much all the time, right? So you're not having a lot of downtime. I'm curious, what is your capacity with your current mill setup?
If we're totally maxed out, which in manufacturing you never are, something always happens where it ruins your efficiency. But we're at about 120 a month, and that's on, you know, obviously you know this, but you know, months range from 19 to 20. You can have 23 days in a month if you're lucky, but yeah, right around 120 a month. The number for us is six a day. You know, but if we have a product mix, you know, issue, or if we're doing a drop where it's going to increase our efficiency, then, you know, that lowers our capacity. So I would safely say, you know, about 105 is really kind of where we're going to max out at.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, 105, you know, you're basically a 20 to 30% increase in, you know, your break even before you have to go out and buy another, because you're 780 on your break even and about 1,200, if you look
Yeah.
at, yeah. Okay. That's interesting. We've mentioned Tyler was kind of a little bit unexpected of you needing that help, you kind of realizing that. What other things have been surprises for you as you've gotten into it that you've said this was, the additional mill was obviously the first initial surprise, Tyler initial surprise. Has there been anything else that's taken you by surprise as you've kind of gone on this journey?
Yeah, I think a lot of surprises. I don't know if one really stands out where it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm numb to it now, Curtis. Like,
Yeah, that's a thing too, for sure.
maybe I'm numb to it now. Um, I'm really proud of I'm really proud of how far we've come, but yet recognize how far we still have to go. I'm proud of, the personal growth that I've had through this, and that hasn't been by myself. I've had a lot of help. I work with an entrepreneur coach, and she's really kind of changed my professional career mindset. Surprises, I don't know. I don't think there's really a huge surprise outside that it's just, I'm going to give you your basic stuff. It's really hard, but being consistent is the winning formula.
Yeah.
It really is. And that consistency comes in many different ways. I guess the surprise I would probably lean on the most is the demand for our drops. We've done 3 drops plus a collab with Bridgestone. Our 3 drops have sold out in less than 2 minutes, and then the Bridgestone one sold out in 8. I'm totally blown away by that. Being a guy that was never a club maker before, never really in the golf industry before. I think that's really cool, and I think that's a really cool testament that we're able to build those relationships with those people online and by word of mouth, and they trust us. And the support from a lot of people, I think, has been, I guess, I don't want to say it's a surprise because it's just really cool that many people have just come out and supported us. I didn't expect that necessarily to be the case.
Yeah. I tried to buy all 3 drops. I didn't get it until this 3rd one. And the first one, I won't tell on who I did this with, but I was in a client meeting that was an in-person meeting, and this drop is at 10 a.m. or whatever it was. I forget. I think at 10 or 9 or whatever. And my alarm goes off because I'd put it on my phone that this drop was coming. And I go, and we were supposed to be wrapped up with the meeting, but we weren't. And the alarm goes off, and I'm just like, I can't not do this. So I'm sitting there finishing up the deal on my phone, trying to get to it. And I was too slow because I'm trying to hold a conversation while I'm trying to check out of this deal, because I didn't expect that, like you said, 2 minutes or a minute and a half after this thing dropped, that it was going to sell out. But I think I just extrapolate what I'm doing there. If I was excited enough about this, getting the opportunity to see what you were dropping, that I was doing something that was honestly stupid. I'm there. I should not be on my phone trying to buy a putter while I'm in a client meeting. But I was so excited about it that I couldn't stop myself from really go in there and participate in that. And so I think you extrapolate that over the people that have been on your newsletter, people that have gotten to see the story through social media. And I think you see many similar type stories of people that are excited to participate and be a part of it. So
You're not the only one, Curtis. I get emails and DMs, and they had people tell me where they bought them or how they bought them, and similar stories. A lot of folks, yeah. It's been that's something I'm trying to juggle right now. If I'm being totally open, is that the last drop we increased it to 24 putters, and every drop we'll get an email or 2, or message via social media. People disappointed, and totally understandable. This last drop, we've got a handful of emails that were kind of nasty, and so trying to figure that whole thing out. You're not going to make everybody happy, and so that last drop, we could have sold about 60, I'd say, pretty easily. which is crazy to me. We had over 50 people checking out in the first minute and a half, and so it totally blows my mind. I'm really humbled by that support, but trying to juggle out, how to try to make everyone, not gonna make everyone happy, but how to do it I think the best way possible so everyone has a chance.
Yeah. What's your kind of strategy? Have you had time to think about what your strategy is going forward? Are you going to have a certain number of drops, increasing volume? Like what kind of thing? Talk me through that. How have you thought about that?
Well, we tried to do 4 in 2025, and we only did 3.
Okay.
The goal for 26 would be to hit that 4 mark again, with an additional maybe 1 or 2 in there if we're able to. And so
Yeah.
for us, for these drops, we need to plan about 8 to 10 weeks in advance, just to get all the logistics involved. And so, it just depends how busy we are, with current orders, if we can pull that off. So we're going to try to shoot for 4 and 26, and then, we're going to try to do 1 or 2 more on top of that for certain events and see how they go. I love doing the drops. I think it's a ton of fun. I think, I was accused of having bots on my website this last drop, and look, guys, I'm a guy in a 900 square foot shop, so
I'm a bot. I was a bot.
Yeah.
So I was refreshing it over and over again until I got it this time because I was sitting there waiting on it. So that's the bots that are on your site. Just let people know that in the future.
Yeah.
It's
We give
people trying
ample, I think, heads up when it's coming via social and email, and
Yeah.
that thing goes live at 10 a.m. and it's best person wins, and so we'll figure out if we need to do a lottery maybe in 26 or something like that, but we're gonna keep going. Our next drop will be the same strategy we've utilized this last one.
Yeah, I remember after the first drop, you did it via email and the link was up there, but I just didn't even register. And I think I emailed you after the first drop of like,
Yeah.
hey, I was late on this, and I was like trying to understand basically how can I get a putter, and it was like, oh, well, the link is going to be here, so it's like, okay, well, then that's the strategy. And I think that speaks to that stuff that you're not expecting them to sell out in 2 minutes or in a minute and a half.
Right.
So if an email goes in the first group of the emails versus the second, which again you have no control over, right?
Yep.
You just press send. When they get it is based off of how the email provider processes it, which
Yep.
since I run a newsletter too, I see that and get that a little bit more than most would. But I could see how you're excited and you're wanting it. You can get frustrated with it, and that's the nature of it, and that's the excitement that comes with the drops. But anyways, that's beside the point. But
It is. Email batching is an issue, and so I think we've done a good job the last 2 drops of overcoming that and letting people know where it's going to be. Where the product's going to be. It's going to be live at 10 a.m. If you don't get the email, it's still going to be on the website. So until 10:04 if you don't get the email or whatever it may be. But yeah, the drops are awesome. It's honestly super weird, Curtis. You go through like this huge high, like a business high, like how you get super high. This last one, I didn't get as high as I have the other 2, but I was really excited. And then, I'm a people pleaser and started seeing some emails come through, and I was kind of bummed out. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
yeah, well, we've gone deep on some of this stuff. We got sidetracked a little bit. I don't want to keep you too long here, so let's jump to what does the next 12 to 24 months look like from your perspective? Or obviously, you said you're going to continue doing more drops. What are kind of your growth goals? Do you have any new things that you're going to be trying to tackle? What does that look like?
Yeah, we're moving to a new shop actually in early January. So when this puppy comes out, we'll be in a new shop. We're actually moving to our Hanna Golf's currently in Mason City, Iowa, which is about 2 hours north of Des Moines, 2 hours south of Minneapolis. My wife and I and our 3 kids, we moved to a city called Cedar Falls. It's actually where I went to college in October. And so I've been commuting commuting every day to our shop in Mason City as our shop gets finished in Cedar Falls. And so we have 2,000 square feet. Really excited about that. Break even goes up a little bit. But that's great. So we're hiring we've got a marketing intern coming in, social media intern coming in January. She's going to work about 15 hours a week, 10, 15 hours a week. Really excited about that. And then, what 26 looks like for us is to have, I think, a more of a boutique feel from our shop standpoint. We want as many people in the Cedar Valley in our shop as possible. So whether that's making it more accessible for them with a large putting green, et cetera. And then, quite frankly, I've got about four new designs kind of up my sleeve.
Yeah.
Now, who knows when those will come out? They could come out in 2027.
Yeah.
It just really depends, how quickly we can get those prototyped and all the issues that comes along with prototyping addressed. And so that's one side of it. The other side of it is that we're going to revamp our website to kind of be more user friendly. We have a lot of options that you can use when buying a putter for us, and so be more user friendly. And I'm really kind of excited about this direction. I've got to find the time to carve out to do it, because I do it all. I do all the CAD work, all the CAM work, and then all the website work. So really got to focus on that. But I'm really, really excited about 2026. Super excited.
That's great. Well, we know, as I'm cheering you on. I know you have a lot of people cheering you on. When you look back, if you could distill this last 2 years, what would you say if you could go back and redo some stuff? Like, what is one lesson that you would say for anyone that's starting something from scratch like this, taking on something? What would you say is like the one lesson, the thing that you completely missed, that could help them have more success early?
First of all, I'll take more advice than I can give, but this is kind of what I would say is, my dad's told me this my whole life, especially with playing competitive golf, which it never really hit me until probably about, 6 months ago. You got to really maintain those highs and lows. And I took the Shopify notifications off my phone. I stopped talking to my wife every night about, work in the shop and how many putters we sold or didn't sell that day. And I've totally removed myself when I'm out of this place. I don't really even love to chat with my friends when we're playing golf. I've separated that. I've done a better job at that. I've done a better job at the highs and the lows. And if I would have probably accepted that early on in this, it would have been, from a mental side, it would have been a lot better off for me. And it'd be a lot better off for me previous to my life anyway. I'm a pretty emotional person. I can run hot sometimes. And I can also get really excited. And so trying to be more even keel through this has been just a huge, huge deal for me. It's just been, I haven't lived and died by it like I did the first year and a half. And it's been such a game changer for me.
Dude, I think I still need your lesson. It's such good advice, because you go in from this day of what you dealt with, and if you dealt with something good, it's easy to go in and be super excited. But if you dealt with something hard, it's easy to let that carry over to the family side, right? To the stuff that's there. And one thing that I didn't anticipate is I've almost had a hard time relating with people that are not in the same position now. Meaning,
yeah, that's very true. Yes.
When I go and we're having this casual conversation, it's hard for me to engage or care about it. And I've had to really be intentional about that. That first piece was the golf of like, I need to quit taking this so seriously, so I'm going to play golf. So for me, that was the release. I have to intentionally re-engage in those things, because otherwise it's really easy to pull back and just be in that little cocoon. And then that's when mentally it takes over, right? And then you just never get any rest from that. So I think that's super valuable word of wisdom there.
Yeah, and honestly, like, the best thing that I've done is work with an entrepreneurial coach, and I didn't seek it out per se. She interviewed me for her newsletter and a while back, and she's like, this is what I do, and I've been working with her for about a year and a half, and she has totally changed my outlook on so many different things from a business standpoint. And it's really hard to separate. I mean, it's just a fact, and Tyler Johnson, my good buddy who runs Charlie Golf, he'll text me every other day about what you just said. it's really hard to understand folks and their mindset that aren't doing what you're doing as an entrepreneur. And yeah, I mean, it's a huge challenge to separate those things outside of work, but it can be done. If I can do it, I think semi-successfully, than anybody can, because I'm a guy that was attached to this thing and lived and died by it every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well, thanks for joining me, Jared. Anyone who is watching this to this point, I implore you to go buy a putter, because I've loved both of mine. I haven't got to play as many rounds, but I've putted more than I've putted in years, and look forward to kind of seeing you continue to grow in this, and we'll be cheering you on along the way. So thanks for coming and talking with us today.
Thanks, Kurtis, and I appreciate having me on, and I appreciate you being a supporter.